Good morning, academics and scholars. I just want to welcome you back here. I'm happy that you're with me this morning. I just want to make sure that I give you this quick lecture video to make sure that you add it to your notes, that you should already be well understood and moving through the module expertly every single week, because we are in week 4, and by now you should be well acquainted with how to set yourself up for success in this course every week. So where should you be clicking? Every Monday morning when your new module comes out, which it did yesterday, even though it was Memorial Day, your professor is here working for you, even on holidays. I open that module for you so that you can go ahead and look and see what's there, begin mapping out your week and using increments of time, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, every single day, so that you are not leaving your coursework for the weekend. I have spoken this morning to no less than at least 3 students who have told me that they ended up having some sort of crisis or they got really busy over the weekend. Remember that this is not something, an excuse like I got busy, right, is not going to work when we are professionals. You can't tell your boss or tell your clients, I got really busy Friday through Sunday. You have to find a way to get yourself to the place you need to be successful in life. So this leadership course, use what we are learning in this course to level up. It's okay to make mistakes. You are not going to be perfect. But once we make a mistake, when we know better, we do better. So once you make a mistake, figure out what went wrong. What could you have done differently? How do you set yourself up to avoid those mistakes? Because the next time that mistake is no longer a mistake, it's an actual choice, right? You've done it before. And if you do it again, you are intentionally making that decision to set yourself backwards, and we want you to move forward. So let's talk about it. What did we do already in this course? We have learned about the history of the new study of leadership, relatively young. We have created a framework for defining what leadership is for this class, because leadership can be defined in so many different ways. You should know the working definition of leadership for this class, right? Leaders are effective agents for positive change. We demystified some of the stereotypes of leadership, and you guys had a whole lot of fundamentals of leadership. There were a bunch listed there that really sort of had us look hard at how difficult it is to be a leader rather than a boss. A boss is so easy. All you need is a title, right? So those things are important. So then we moved into part 2 of the course, which is discovering and applying leadership development. And so what did we do? We first talked about leadership skills. Now, skills, just like leadership, is something that you can learn. There are globally approved leadership skills, so that we know that regardless of where you are in the world, there are some things that leaders just need to have. And so you discovered that in week 1. Hopefully you're adding to this every single week, right? What else do we now know about leadership? Well, you learned that in leadership skills, one of the biggest ones you need to have is emotional intelligence. Why? Because emotional intelligence, based on the science, based on the data, is going to get you hired and promoted most often now in this modern world, where so many people have degrees, the same degree as you. Most people don't understand that we have more degrees than we've ever had in the United States, and that's a wonderful thing. Except when you go in a tough job market, right, to go apply for that dream job. We've got to make sure to set you up for success. And we're going to use the data to tell us, actually, we have so many people with the same exact degrees. So if I line us up, we all have the same hard technical skills. What is going to set me apart? What's going to set me apart is how I regulate myself, how my relationships are with my colleagues, how I carry myself, how I speak to the public or my clients or my subordinates. All of those things matter and are going to lead you to be the kind of person who is going to want to be able to move up in the ranks. Next, we talked about growth mindset, a skill that all of us need, right? It's got those 2 pieces, the belief in ourselves and the willingness to work hard, right? Professor Hellman's formula for growth mindset is consistent hard work plus a consistent good attitude equals success. Essential. And that's why I put it at the start of the class. Guys, this is about self-leadership. I should see you leveling up every single week. Next, this week, we're moving on to leadership strengths. Similar to skills, except strengths are innate to us, right? You may have discovered some strengths already that you have. They could be small ones like, oh, I have great handwriting. Or they could be really interesting and complicated ones like I know how to really great with technology, or I'm really great at listening, right? Things that we don't normally think of, but that we have found in ourselves that we are good at. I promise you, you also have some that are uncovered within you, strengths that you don't know exist there. And so how we're going to differentiate skills and strengths is that strengths are things that we have a personal responsibility to develop because it is something special about us, right? So we want to make sure and uncover what our strengths are, because strengths is what I'm bringing special to the job of leadership, right? I have particular strengths that make me as a human a great leader. They're different than yours. So you have a personal responsibility to find out what your strengths are for yourself, because that's how you're going to lead in the world, right? If I'm super creative, I'm going to lead with creativity. Then I'm going to build a team that is going to fill in the places where I'm weak. So I'm super great at creativity, but maybe I'm not great at organizing and administrative stuff. I'm going to build a team that is going to make up for those weaknesses. And I'm going to learn to recognize strengths in myself so that I can then recognize them in others. This is great leadership. So you're going to this week complete a VIA character strengths assessment. It's going to ask you lots of questions. Go very slowly and answer them so that you can get a really good result. Learn about your character strengths. Learn why they matter. Next, we're going to talk about a strength that all of us need to build, which is vulnerability. A word and a strength that we don't often associate with leadership, but if you look into the new data and science we have on the study of leadership, vulnerability is really something that we have had to identify as the key, one of the key configurations in great leadership, because you have to be brave. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to not know the answers. In order to be a great leader, you've really got to put yourself out there. And so vulnerability is step one, right? To be effective agents of positive change, you've got to be someone who's willing to put yourself out there as the leader and make the hard choices, to take the blame, etc. But to be honest, right? Next, you're going to talk about positive psychology. This is such important science. Just like everything else we've learned in this class, like growth mindset, like emotional intelligence, this stuff is key. Positive psychology is based around the fact that we know that human brains, because we are animals, we know that human brains will hold on to threatening experiences and criticism way more often than it will hold on to the memory of something positive or a moment that you were praised. And so what we know about our human brains is that because we were programmed when our little animal brains were in the forest or caveman days, that anything that was threatening to us, okay, anything that was threatening to us, we had to pay close attention and our danger signal went off. Well, the same thing, that same brain that was in there still exists today. And so that is why you might remember something awful that was said to you in elementary school when you were 6, 7, or 8 years old. But you may not remember the piece of praise that you were given. You probably can remember times that you were punished as a kid by your parents, but you may not always remember the times when they told you how proud of you they were. And if you had to really think about it, I bet you could probably guess that if you had decent parents, that they probably praised you more often. But the thing we need to know is that it's about a 6-to-1 ratio. So if I am a great leader and I know this science, shouldn't it impact the way that I lead? It means that my job is to identify my own strengths so I can identify others. And then I can say to you, hey, Marissa, great job on that client presentation today. I really like the way you did blank, blank, and blank. It was tremendous. And it really see a great improvement from last month when you presented to blank. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you have next time. So you're presenting to them specific things that they did really well. We're not talking about fake praise. We're talking about looking for the places where people are doing good and naming it. Because not only will it be helpful for them, right? But we know as the leader, if I know this science, then I can build a happier, we can build better morale if I am recognizing when people are doing good. So that way, when I have to correct them, because good leaders have to correct also. But we are building in the foundation within our group that, hey, I don't just talk to you when you need correction. I talk to you all throughout the day with real, pointed, specific, intentional, and meaningful praise. Hey, John, I noticed that you really, your expense reports have been so detailed. They're so easy for us to use now, and I can give them to anyone. They know exactly what to do. It's so great. I want you to present it to the team next week so that everyone can set up the expense reports the same way you do. That's going to be a great moment for him. He's going to leave the day feeling great. So that way, in 2 weeks, when something happens in his expense report or anything else where I have to talk to that person, I can say, hey, you have been doing such a good job and we are so happy. So I just noticed that this task you completed this week wasn't done to your usual expertise. Is everything okay? You're giving them an opportunity to address it, but you're also showing concern. you are coaching them. You are not threatening them with a correction, right? And so all of these little shifts that we're learning about leadership is so important for you to apply to yourself in your own self-leadership, to apply to your roommate, to apply to your boyfriend or girlfriend, to apply to your colleagues at work. Do all of this. Apply these things and see how things change. This week, you've got a discussion board to complete. Remember that those due dates begin on Friday for your initial post and replies to classmates by Sunday. You also have another assignment to do some analysis on the content this week. So move through the modules, take great notes, and keep an eye out on things because I'll probably be sending something out you'll want to read this week. Bye.